Hi guys, so it's Mask Monday and I'm hoping this Monday that I don't make a complete flipping fool of myself when I put my mask on. But luckily I find those kinds of things funny, so I didn't really mind. So tonight I thought I'm not going to do it today. I thought I'm not going to do it last thing at night because I didn't think it through last time and I ended up having to sort of go downstairs and edit in the middle of the night to get it uploaded. I was like a mad woman, and I had been like a mad woman in the video anyway. So tonight I thought, no, I'll do it more sensibly. So my name's Fawn, this is my channel. It is a happy place where I don't mind making a fool of myself because it is so bloody funny and I do make the most awful goofs. If you like anything about the channel, then please do thumbs up, subscribe, comment. So this week, I've got the Incredible mask. Glasses on, I'm gonna get it right this time. I tell you what, girls, I've brought my trusty mirror. Incredible, it's flower power. It's a hydrating sheet mask for dry or dehydrated skin, and I must admit my skin does feel really dry. I think it's the change in temperature. It has suddenly got really cold, windy, rainy here, so even the heating has gone on. And it has botanical flower extracts and vitamin E. It's a 15-minute mask. I've had it for a while, so I'm quite looking forward to this. Now, I have made an awful mistake. I did suggest in my last video that maybe we had questions and things like that, and Lois did contact me and say, could I make a list of questions? Ooh, this is gloopy. Oh, this is, at least this feels like I might understand this one a bit better. Would I make a list of questions and send them to her? And do you know, it just went out of my head. I had such a busy week, what with my little one, my grandson's birthday. Oh, this is pretty, it's got flowers on it, look at that. And look, I am not making that mistake again. There's the mouth hole, there's the nose hole, there's the eye holes. Yeah! Fawn figured it out. Yeah, so I was supposed to have done that and I didn't, and I can only apologise, Lois. I just completely, I was having one of those weeks, do you know what I mean? Anyway, so it's on. I'm hoping it'll stay while I talk. It does feel like one that's going to want to wander, but let's just see. Right, and before I make any more mistakes, I'm getting my trusty mirror, and it is on. Oh, it's actually quite pretty. Look how pink that is. So that's Bert, you can hear in the background, growling. He is playing on the floor with Ethel. He was just relaxing. She came along and jumped off the end of the bed and did the spread eagle thing and landed on him. No, that's what I was saying. So I let Lois down, I let the girls down, so I'm really, really sorry. My idea wasn't really a list of questions, because by golly, we'd have a job, you know, week after week answering questions. I thought a question a week. So I'd mentioned this, and one of my friends, one of my subscribers, oh God, I don't get on with masks. Krystyna, hello Krystyna. She sent a few questions through, and one of the questions that she asked was, how did I meet my husband? And I thought that was a good one. So I thought, yes, that's what I'll do while this mask is on. So obviously I'm on my second marriage. Some people are lucky enough to find their soulmate first time round, and some of us aren't quite so lucky, and I was not quite so lucky. I married my first husband, I was much, much too young. I was 18 and I should not have been getting married. But you know, the more that family pushed and said, you know, you're too young, you don't know what you're doing, the more determined we were to get married. And so we did. I don't regret the marriage because that's where my two beautiful daughters come from. So, you know, we may have got a lot of things wrong, but we got an awful lot of things right. We got the fundamentals right, which is my beautiful daughters, and they are lovely. And although, you know, I look back and I think I let them down, you know, by the marriage ending before they were fully grown, I still think, you know, we behaved like adults. Their father stayed in their life, I stayed in, you know, so, and the girls stayed with me, obviously. Anyway, after that marriage had failed, I spent a little bit of time on my own, but not a lot. And friends of mine knew Nick, my guy, my husband. And they suggested that we meet up. Well, it was kind of difficult. He was working long hours, I was working long hours and going to university and raising my girls. So we did quite a lot of chat via text messages, and we had a few phone calls and so on. And he sounded really nice. And in the end, we arranged to meet up for a date, our first blind date at a golf club that he was a member of. And it was just before Christmas. It was something like the 22nd of December, 21st or 22nd of December. And this was a really chic golf club. And I thought, ooh, because I'd never been there, you know, I'm just a working class girl. And I thought, oh, this will be interesting. Oh, a meal there, you know, it's a proper date. Anyway, we met there. He didn't look anything like I imagined he'd look. He had sent me a picture, and I'd seen pictures, but he is one of these people who, if he switches it on, he's bright and cheery and happy, and when he's in a mood or serious, he's a completely different face. But also, he was really bossy. He had 1,000 million questions. He just sort of bombarded me with questions, but an awful lot of it was about showing off. It was about his sports car. It was about his, you know, places he'd been, places he wanted to go, places he wanted to take me. How did I feel about, you know, travelling here and travelling there? And it just felt really part interview, like I was being interviewed as his PA, and part show off. And I am a real working class girl, you know. I mean, there have been many periods in my life when I've not had the proverbial pot to pee in. So you're not going to impress me with that kind of thing. And we Brits were very funny about people showing off. You know, we're really, we get quite agitated about it. So, and because he'd thought, well, we've never met before, he decided that we wouldn't have a meal. Now, he didn't tell me this. We wouldn't have a meal. We'd just have a drink and a snack. And we'd just meet for sort of an hour. And then, you know, and then we'd see if we wanted to see each other again. Because obviously he was very experienced in dating and I wasn't. So I had no idea that actually that was a good idea, the coffee, the drink, you know. Because we've been talking for a while on the phone, etc., I just assumed that we were going to have a meal. It was the evening, it was, you know. And I was quite sort of nonplussed by this. I mean, I now realise that actually he was far more sensible than I was. But because I had married at 18, I'd married my first love. I'd never really dated, I have to say, ladies. You know, my husband was my first husband, was my first partner in every sense. So I was not experienced. So here I was with this marriage that had ended after a very long period, 2 kids, you know, I was 33. But I had about as much experience as a 16-year-old girl these days does, you know, has. So, anyway, the date ended. I got back into my car. He got into his sports car. I remember he gave me a barley sugar. He had a barley sugar in his pocket. I don't know why he did. It was just one of those things, nick is nick. And I got in the car and I drove home. And on the way, I stopped at a local co-op and got, you know, a ready-made sandwich, and because I'd arranged my evening for this night out. And so part of me was like, bloody cheek of the man, you know, we didn't even eat. But the other part of me was like, thank God, because I didn't like him. I just didn't like him. I thought he was horrible. I thought he was a show-off. I thought he was pretentious. You know, I really didn't like him. He thought the date had gone swimmingly and contacted me, you know, the very next day, wanting to know when we were going to meet again and all this sort of thing. And me being me, I funked it. I didn't know what to say, so I avoided answering for a few days. And then I thought, you know, you can't do this. You can't, you know, all right, you think he's horrible, but you can't be rude. So I sent him a text, and again, being me, I funked it, and I said, I think you're a bit too serious for me. I didn't want to say you're a show-off, you silly man, you know. So I just said, oh, I think you're a bit too serious for me. I don't think we're a good match. And he was very polite about it. He was like, oh, okay, you know, right, fair enough. Was there anything in particular? And I was like, no, you know, just didn't work for me. And he accepted it, but obviously he was friends with friends of mine. I mean, this is back in the day when I had friends. So I would hear about him, and occasionally we'd be at things and he'd be, I think there were 2 occasions, I think we were at something and, you know, he was there and I was there. It was a bit uncomfortable. But he would occasionally drop me an email and say, or send me a text and say, have you changed your mind? You know, you ready to give me a better chance? In the meantime, I went on a couple of dates with a couple of different guys and discovered just how awful dating was and just how ridiculous people behaved on dates. And sort of started to see that possibly, you know, possibly this was not that he was a show-off, but that he was shy, or, you know, that he just didn't know what to say, and, you know, was unsure. And maybe this was an armour, maybe this was, yeah, not the true him. So we got round to May, and he caught me one night. He happened to text one night, and I'd just come back from a date with a guy who I'd thought was an absolute fool. Uneducated, just as daft as a brush, and thinking all men were rubbish. And he happened to text and say, you know, any chance? And I thought, oh my God, I may as well give him a chance, because at least when we'd talked before the date on the phone and so on, he'd been intelligent, interesting. So we went on another date, and that was it really. That was, we started seeing each other because it went well. He calmed down. He realised that he'd far better play up the areas of his life that were interesting to me, like what he did for a living and what his family were like and things like that, and, you know, cool down and all the other stuff. So we trotted along dating occasionally, and after we'd been together, I don't know, we'd been seeing each other off and on for a few months. He said to me one day, I'd been out for a night out with some friends, and he said to me, what do you tell your friends about me? These were work friends and girlfriends from a long time ago, not people he knew. And I said, well, nothing really, there's nothing to tell. And he said, what do you mean there's nothing to tell? And I said, well, I've only been on a few, you know, we were 5 minutes into this. I said, and I just don't think we're going to last anyway. I just think we're too different, and sooner or later it's going to go wrong. And he was outraged. He was absolutely outraged that I was discounting this relationship. He fell pretty quickly. He was very comfortable doing the I love yous and all of that. He was the first, and yeah, he was very quick to do that kind of thing. I took a lot longer to come round to the loving him thing. Not because it was him. I think I would have been the same with any man. I think once bitten, twice shy. You know, I put too much of myself into my first marriage to willingly rush into a second one. And in fact, we didn't marry for a very long time. We've only been married for, I think it's 6 years. I think it was 6 years. Yeah, 6 years this year. Even though we've been together sort of 20 years. Because it just wasn't something I wanted. He, you know, he started asking. We'd been together a couple of years when he started talking about when we're married, when we live together. And I was always like, you know, I would change the subject or whatever. I always use the kids. I use the kids as a big excuse. I'd say, oh no, you know, the girls have got one father. I really don't want to confuse them. And then it would be, oh, they're going to high school or they're doing A-level. You know, there was some reason why I didn't want disruption in the girls' lives, but it was really far more to do with me. I was very, very reluctant to, commit myself again. So we've been together a long time now, and we get on so well. This man is my friend before my husband, really. And that makes him very special. It is a very, very different relationship. This is a man who will remember to buy me a card. He never forgets a date. He is the king of the romantic gesture. He can be a show-off, but it is a lot of it to do with shyness. Also to do with the fact that he'd never met anyone like me, really. He'd been very successful from really very young. He had a lot of success work-wise from very young, and had earned quite a lot of money from very young. And it would appear that almost every woman he went with, or went out with, and in fact married, money was very important to them. And you know, there were so many times we had arguments over things and he couldn't quite get his head around it. When we first got together, sort of serious-ish, when, you know, we'd been together a year or two, I was driving a really tatty old car and I used to work evenings. He didn't like me working evenings, but that was called tough. It's nothing to do with you, mate. But I used to work evenings, and he got very, very agitated about my car, and my car had broken down once or twice, and you know, I'd had a few problems, and he decided in his wisdom he was going to buy me a new car. And we had the most stupendous row because I wouldn't let him buy me a new car. And when he said new, he meant brand new from a garage. I'd never had a brand new car from a garage. You know, he couldn't get his head round the fact that I would say, why on earth would you spend that for that? I like quality. I do like quality, but I was never really impressed by labels or anything like that. So we had some really big rows in the early days about things like that, because he said I was an inverted snob, and I said he was a show-off. So, but we've been together a long time now, and he really is, you know, he's a wonderful guy, a wonderful, wonderful guy, and we are very, very happy. I don't foresee us splitting or anything like that. I think the biggest problem is that he's quite a bit older than me, which is a worry for me. So I do worry sometimes about the fact that he is so much older than me, but thankfully he is sort of fitness obsessed and what he eats obsessed. I mean, how I ever got to be this full-figured, I'm going to call it full-figured woman when I'm married to him, I have no idea. But something about him sitting there, you know, being super healthy sometimes makes me go the other way. So anyway, that's Nick and that's me. So we got married, as I say, 6 years ago at a local hotel. We went for the weekend. It was very local, but we went for the weekend, and we had the only people we had there were our children. So between us we have 5 children and their partners. His stepmum came and my mum and dad came, and it was lovely actually. We arrived there for the Friday night, so we had a nice meal on the Friday night. Then we got married on the Saturday, and it wasn't a big, you know, it was nothing fancy, but it was kind of really special. And then we had a meal that, you know, the wedding breakfast as they call it, but the, you know, evening meal. And then we all got up and had breakfast together on the Sunday, and then we all went our separate ways. And yeah, we've been together, you know, and very happy ever since. I've never regretted marrying him. So yeah, so that's me and my fella. Probably far too much detail. But I've got to get this mask off. I tell you what, girls, this one is itchy. This one, I'm even wondering, could there have been a right way and a wrong way? But it was very dry. It got very dry down there. And I found that really itchy. I don't think there was a right and wrong way to have this on. I mean, I put the sort of paler side on my face rather than the darker. I don't like that very much. I don't think I'd buy that one again. It just felt really... maybe it's because I was talking. Maybe if I'd just laid back and, you know, then maybe it might have worked better. But I wasn't keen on that one. So that was the incredible one. And that was my much calmer... I was still touching it all the time, wasn't I? But that was, a lot of that was to do with the itchiness. I kept wanting to sort of have a go at my face. So anyway, that's my Mask Monday. That was me answering my question from Krystyna, how I met my husband. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this wasn't too bloody boring, and I shall be editing it as usual. And yeah, I'll see you real soon, girls. Okay, bye.